Okay, good morning. My name is Donnie Balsman. I'm the superintendent of Randolph Southern School Corporation. Joining me today are Aaron Black, superintendent of Randolph Eastern School Corporation, Rollin Abraham, superintendent of Randolph Central School Corporation, Adrian Moulton, superintendent of Monroe Central School Corporation, Michael Huber, superintendent of Union School Corporation, Lisa Weber, director of the Greater Randolph Interlocal Consortium, Mike Miller, president of Randolph Southern School Corporation, School Board, Jan Cottle, vice president of Randolph Southern School Corporation School Board, Lisa Hendrickson, vice president of Randolph Central School Corporation, and Linda Puccioni, president of the Randolph Eastern School Corporation. Today we stand in unity to support public education and oppose House Bill 1005, Senate Bill 413, and any other bill that's establishing an educational savings account or the expansion of vouchers. Our school boards have passed or will soon be passing resolutions supporting public education and opposing educational savings accounts and the expansion of vouchers. These bills do not help Randolph County schools or Randolph County students. Several associations, including the K.I.S.S, have developed a map that illustrates where private schools are located throughout the state of Indiana. I have provided a copy of that map today for the media. And you must ask, why our elected representatives and senators support legislation that does not support their constituents? The Governor's Teacher Compensation Commission was released in December of 2020, and it reported that teachers are woefully underpaid. The report provided a wide range of strategies to provide increases to school funding. However, it does not appear that the current legislative session is looking to solve this problem during this biennium. We understand the financial hardships that the COVID pandemic has placed on the state of Indiana and in the United States. Students, citizens, teachers, school corporations, and governmental agencies and businesses have been hit very hard. However, now is not the time to siphon precious tax dollars away from public education in order to fund the expansion of vouchers. According to the Indiana Small Rural Schools Association, House Bill 1005 expands vouchers for private schools, creating a 300% increase of on federal free and reduced lunch amounts. The bill expands vouchers to families making 3 times the limit to qualify for reduced price meals. The proposal is 5 times the federal level for poverty. A family making $170,274 per year would be eligible. House Bill 1005 creates a state-funded education savings account, scholarship account, that will provide essentially a debit card directly to parents to pay for educational services, CTE, career technical education, tablets, homeschool costs, or special education services with no oversight and no accountability. According to Indiana Small Rural Schools Association, Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents, and the Indiana Coalition for Public Education, House Bill 1005 allows students to withdraw to access those dollars. This piece of legislation could exempt students from taking the I-Learn exam. According to the Indiana Small Rural Schools Association, this legislation would increase the bureaucracy of the Treasurer's Office by at least $5 million to handle this new program. How will this department ensure that fraud is not occurring and that children are receiving services that align with Article 7 for which is special education law? I can tell you, as a former special education coordinator for my school corporation at Randolph Southern, and that every school corporation in Randolph County collaborates to provide visual impairment services, hearing impaired services, emotional handicap services, speech, OT, PT, and LD services for our children. Every penny is used to support our children. The director, Lisa Weber, can attest to this. She writes the budget every year in cooperation with the fellow superintendents that are standing up here and the services that are provided. Public schools are required to fully have licensed people in those positions to provide services. And we do not turn away any child that comes to our doorstep. Public schools, according to the latest news reports, Arizona has seen about a 5% increase in its special education services by going this route. The Legislative Service Agency, which is the fiscal body that gives information to the legislators, estimates that this new voucher expansion and savings account will cost $67.6 million over the next 2 years. The decrease of public education for financing for public education began in 2009 when the Indiana legislature took over the general fund. Money followed student and school corporations with declining enrollments lost funding. Most importantly, the Indiana legislature cut the complexity index, which provides additional funding for schools with high poverty. And if you know anything about Randolph County, we've got some poverty. To complicate matters, schools and local governments were cut funds when the property tax caps were placed on homes of 1% of assessed value, 2% on agriculture, and 3% for commercial property. In 2009, the Indiana legislature subsidized this loss with sales tax from increasing from 6% to 7%. This strategy seems great as long as the economy is good and the citizens are buying goods and services and paying taxes. However, the Great Recession that lasted from 2007 to 2009 hit and revenues plummeted, and consequently, school corporation funding plummeted as well. In 2020, we've experienced a pandemic and everything shut down. And again, our economy suffered, which means those tax dollars we're getting from sales tax also plummeted. The Indiana Coalition for Public Education created a pictorial representation for our current K-12 funding in the state of Indiana. The image is titled Leaky Bucket, Legislature Diverts K-12 Tuition Support from Funding for Public Schools. This picture is a visual representation of what school corporations face navigating the budget from year to year, and I have provided that to you. It is a document that they have provided to school corporations and to the public. In 2019, the Indiana legislature implemented Indiana Code 20-40-2-6, which mandates school corporations cannot transfer any more than 15% of its educational revenue from education account to the operations account. This piece of legislation was intentionally set in place to force local taxpayers to pick up a larger share of the school corporation operational cost. Most taxpayers don't realize that prior to 2019, Indiana law would not permit school corporations to pay central office staff, like myself, janitors, school board members' salaries, the little amount that they do receive, attorney fees, maintenance directors, cleaning supplies, SROs, and a large portion of utilities, property casualty insurance, out of the capital projects, transportation, school bus replacement, or debt service fund. We had to pay for it out of the general fund, and now, which is now the education fund. I have provided a chart for you that was from Dr. Robert Daskoshian that shows where funding has existed in the state of Indiana from 1949 to 2019. Now, these same expenses occurred in prior to 2020 must be paid out of our operations account, which means our revenue streams are going to have to go back to local taxpayers. That's what's going on right now. That revenue stream is a precious account that we only can generate so many dollars. Our entire funding system was changed in 2008 and 2009 and picked up through state tax, and now we're funding, this funding is being migrated back to the local taxpayer. I will ask our legislators, how can you help Randolph County Schools? Well, a couple of things that I will say, and I'm going to open this up to other superintendents and board members. The Small Schools Grant. The Indiana Small Rural Schools Association, consisting of 106 school corporations statewide, has repeatedly asked our state representatives and state senators to reinstate the Small Schools Grant. The last time this grant was funded was in 2011, and it cost $15 million. We did not understand why our representatives would support the expansion of vouchers and scholarships account that costing $33 million, but would not look at a small schools grant that would help every school standing up here. According to the map provided by K.I.S.S, the expansion only helps suburban and metro areas with private schools and do little for small and rural schools. Another item that we could utilize is electrical consortiums. The Governor's Teacher Compensation Commission recommended on page 50 that the school corporations purchase natural gas through a cooperative agreement. Every Randolph County school is part of the East Central Indiana Gas Consortium, consisting of 39 school districts in East Central Indiana. The consortium purchases natural gas in large quantities on the market at a fixed price, and it permits school districts to set their budgets at certain prices, and it does not allow for spikes to occur with this latest cold spell. Our gas prices were set, so we're not going to see those huge increases. This last legislative session, we asked our legislators to introduce legislation permitting us to form an electrical consortium to provide an opportunity to go out and purchase electricity on the future. And I've heard it's all about competition. This is a perfect example of competition being created. That's part of the reason why we're able to have the gas prices we are. Electricity is one of the highest utilities that we have as a school corporation, and we had over 100 schools support this piece of legislation that never got filed. So today, I'm asking the public, we're asking our folks that are taxpayers to support public education, and we're asking you to contact your legislators and oppose the expansion of vouchers and the creation of educational savings accounts. I'm going to turn the mic over to, I think Adrian had some things he would like to discuss.
Well, thank Mr. Bausman. Excellent job of summarizing just the data that's out there and the reasons why we're standing here before you today opposing this legislation. It's an honor to be with these school leaders, both at the board level and superintendents. This is very rare. I want to stress that. During my 6 years as superintendent, I don't recall ever doing this. This may be unprecedented. So I hope that brings home the point that this is not just something to take lightly. This is a very important moment for schools in Indiana, and especially for schools here in Randolph County. It was not a simple task for our board members to approve these resolutions, and I know some boards are still going about that process. I can speak for my board members. They spent hours on this. They didn't want to just go with what I was recommending. They spent a great deal of research. One particular board member spent over an hour and a half with Representative Prescott on the phone this week, just going through the details of this. He wanted to find why this was good for Randolph County. And I know Mr. Bausman brought up a lot of things as far as school financing and how this can help. I want to be very targeted with my comments. The reason why I am here today and the reason why my board sent me here today is to oppose House Bill 1005 and Senate Bill 413. A lot of things that Mr. Bousman said we need to talk about. One of those is teacher compensation. Without question, this needs to be dealt with. But that's a very divisive issue. I don't think it should be a divisive issue as a public school employee, but I know it is. And it's easy to divide groups up on that and to lose our focus on why these two bills are bad for Randolph County and bad for public education. I mean, we can stand up here and talk about what our beginning teachers make, barely at poverty level. The commission that Mr. Bousman talked about, that our governor asked for this report that says that we need $600 million just to get us to 2010 levels, our teachers. Those are all important issues that we can talk to you about, and we'd love to discuss with you about. But our focus today are on these two pieces of legislation that linger out there, and particularly why this brings it home to Randolph County. And I'll be very direct with these comments. Our state senator, Senator Jeff Raatz, authored Senate Bill 413. Our representative, J.D. Prescott, co-authored House Bill 1005. My question to our representative and our senator is, how are either one of these bills good for the students of Randolph County? I would like that answered. And to date, I can't get that answer. I simply am told, well, I'm for private schools. And I don't understand how that's good for Randolph County, and particularly the students of Randolph County. I'm told, well, it's about school choice. Well, what choices do the families of Randolph County students have? We have public-to-public choice, and we've had that for years. But what other choices do they have? Are we trying to bring private schools to Randolph County? I can't get an answer on that. The bottom line is, I believe this is about sending public funds and making education privatized, because it's a very lucrative business. And while we don't have a lot of choices yet, I believe they are coming. It's just a matter of time. And we can say this is trying to fix the problems in other areas, and I won't name those areas. But again, these are our representatives, our state senator. Why are you authoring bills that, in my opinion, don't help our students here in Randolph County? I just simply ask that our citizens study these two pieces of legislation very carefully. I'll be glad to talk to you. I know these folks will be glad to talk to you about those, the specifics of those bills. But as you dig in, ask the question, how does this help the students of Randolph County? I ask that you oppose House Bill 1005, Senate Bill 413, and please, 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 contact your representative, J.D. Prescott, our state senator, Jeff Raatz, and tell them to vote no on both of these pieces of legislation.
My name is Roland Abraham. I'm the superintendent at Randolph Central School Corporation. And and thank you, Adrian, for your comments, and Donnie for preparing a statement. We appreciate your time you put into that, and for everyone who's attended this press conference today. But last Tuesday night, my board, the Board of School Trustees at Randolph Central School Corporation, passed a resolution opposing House Bill 1005 and Senate Bill 413. And obviously the expansion of school vouchers across the state, you say, how does that directly affect Randolph Central students or Randolph County students? Well, all of that money comes from state tuition support grant money. So all of those dollars that are being applied towards school vouchers, that will erode the money that can come to public schools. So that's going to directly affect every student and what schools receive in compensation for educating each student. And then the creation of education savings accounts, that's a pretty scary initiative. There's no oversight. We haven't seen anything about how oversight, what that would look like for families and for private schools. And the reality is the state legislature has not been willing at any point at this time to hold private schools accountable to at the same level they hold public schools accountable for. And Adrian, Mr. Moulton's comments about our own Senator Jeff Raatz, and our own Representative J.D. Prescott, clearly what they're voting for and the initiatives that they're backing in the state legislature are not in the best interest of Randolph County schools. And so I also add my voice to all of our constituents to oppose these pieces of legislation, and let your state senator and your state representative know that you oppose them. Thank you for your time.
Okay, just in closing, I would again like to thank everybody for their time to watch this press release. We're going to allow the press to ask any questions they may have for the members up here, but I just want to make it very clear and drive this point home. Our legislators are not representing your children, your grandchildren, your nieces or nephews. That's the bottom line. And we just ask that you join us in contacting Senator Raatz and Representative JD and just giving it and voicing your opinion and put the pressure on them to represent your children. So with that, I'd like to open this up to any questions that members of the press that are here with us today may have concerning this press release.
I'll ask this one for anybody who wants to reply to it, but when you talk about potentially losing funding to our schools here in Randolph County, can you add even, what happens when you lose funding? Then as a result, you probably may lose teachers or services for our kids. Would that be correct?
I'll answer that. Yeah, obviously funding makes a difference in terms of the quality of programming or what programs we can offer to students. And the reality is what we're seeing in the state legislature seems to be completely ignoring the governor's next level teacher compensation commission report. And so paying teachers more and retaining teachers in Randolph County is a big issue. We've struggled because we're rural school corporations, we've struggled to maintain the teacher compensation at levels that where we can keep teachers in an environment when there's a teacher shortage. So funding has a direct impact on what teachers we retain and the programming that we offer.
Rick, I'd like to address that too. 10 months ago, probably, we were very concerned as school officials, and I think we probably all had, as superintendents, we had these discussions with our school board members as the pandemic was starting. We were very concerned about the coming budget. I was talking with my school board members about flatlining our budget or even preparing for cuts. So the fact that our governor is committing new dollars, they're promising new dollars as part of this upcoming budget to education is fantastic. I mean, we are very pleased with that. I don't want to downplay that point. We are appreciative of you putting us, at the front of the line with respect to that. But the concern we have with these two pieces of legislation is it could be more if you weren't devoting up to what I have seen, $144 million over the next 2 years to expand the privatization of schools. So we appreciate what education is getting in this budget, but it could be so much more. And even if those dollars weren't going to public education, don't put them so that they're competing against us. Put them somewhere else where they can help us, whether it be social and emotional needs of our children that are dealing with a pandemic.
any questions? I would like to get a picture of the superintendents together.
Once again, we do appreciate you taking the time to view this press conference. Again, this is a show of unity, and we just ask for your support moving forward. Thank you so much for your time.